Lynch.
Here.
Weiner. Here. Potter.
Here.
Aaron. Here. Schlicker.
Here.
Banach. Here. Berman.
Here.
Turin. Present.
Okay, we do have a quorum. Let's see. Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of, I think we should have under speakers, commissioners report. Whether or not they wish to do it, I still want it out for. It always has been prior to the change in directors.
I'll second that.
I'm sorry, Gary, I said, was that commissioners?
Yes.
Okay. And where's that going to be under?
I would put it right above the line.
Okay, and we have a first and a second? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. All right. We have an approval of the last month's minutes.
I'll make a motion to accept them. All right. I make a motion to accept the minutes as written.
Second.
Okay, we have the first and second. Discussion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, now we'll take time for public comments. They'll be limited to 2 minutes per person. If you have a comment, would you please stand, state your name and where you live? Judy?
Hi, Judy French. I'm Harrisville. Glad to see that there's something happening over there at the property. The trees being cleared, so that shows that things are moving forward. I'm hoping for plenty of transparency moving forward in what the plans are for what's being built. My biggest concern is building too much that we can't handle the upkeep. The monies are just for building, and with the financial state of ACCOA, looking down the road at upkeep on buildings, upkeep on programs, I really hope that you look very closely at those things when you're planning on what it is you're going to build and that sort of thing. So that's just my concern, and I hope that you take that into consideration.
Thank you.
No sound. We don't have any audio.
For nobody?
No.
I don't think they need to, do they? Don't need to hear it downstairs.
Well, so it'll be recorded.
We do like having audio recordings of this meeting so we know what it was.
Yeah, but I meant downstairs, so.
They're not getting audio. Nobody's getting
If they're not getting audio, that's not being recorded. Take a couple minutes for technical difficulties.
As far as I know, what I've been instructed, it's recording with sound. So I don't know that I can do anything other than what I was instructed. So to me, it looks like it's doing everything it should be.
Okay. Well, we have another recording over here just in case. Okay. Were there any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Kay Lovelace from Mankato. I'm here on the pop-up pantry that we have. It's going to be tomorrow, and we had put into the United Way of Alpena, and we received a grant for the continuation of this year, all the way to December. And I was just wondering the status of the items that we had requested. We are partnered with the United Methodist Church in Harrisville that have the 501c3. And Denise had said that since we are partnered, that they would be able to donate the items. And I've never heard personally if that happened or if anybody even knows if it happened. But that's my concern, and we're going to continue on. And hopefully Brad Cole has donated his building, and we'll be storing our stuff there. Thank you.
Thank you. That's good news.
Can I comment on that?
Sure.
Okay. I'll bring it up later.
Okay. Any other comments at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on then. Okay, we do have a couple special speakers today. We have Andy Shaw, he's our construction manager for our project. He's going to give us a little update report.
Yeah. I'm Andy Shaw, and first of all, thank you for hiring me. Appreciate that. I'm going to sit down because I got to flip through a couple pages if you don't mind. So I just want to give an update, happy to answer any questions. What Judy brought up is 100% relevant.
Excuse me, Andy. Could you sit in this chair maybe, then we can get you on the microphone? Thanks, sir.
How's that? Am I showing up on your screen there?
You don't tell me louder than me.
Better? Yeah. There we go. Okay, great. So anyhow, what Judy had to say, of course, is a paramount consideration. So how this scale goes, and I've talked to Bob and Leroy about this, when people speak of per square foot construction costs, they have to understand every square foot's different. You know, some people like to throw a number out, I got this much per square foot, but I can build a structure that'll keep you out of the rain for $50 a square foot. Or I can build you the Taj Mahal at 400 a square foot. But the reality of it is, on the structure that we're going after, it's going to vary on any given area. So so we test just and as far as ranges go, where, you know, how many square feet could we build? What would that get us? What would we do in it? How much would it cost to maintain? And then on the other side, okay, if we went crazy, where's our limits on the limit, you know, the small size of it? So anyhow, all that's being considered, and then in addition to just the ongoing maintenance costs, there's a revenue component that I see to it as well, right? That if you have X and Y, there's definitely some real revenue that can come in for whether it's just daily use of gyms or tennis courts or what have you, renting out of the various rooms that are available. And so there needs to be a profit loss component to this thing. And in my mind, I'm hoping that it's self-sustaining, that the revenue that comes in, you make something so appealing that, you know, we're going to have this money coming in from these various revenue sources, and that it needs to be kind of designed to be self-sustaining from the get-go. But that definitely, you know, great thoughts. And so where we are right now on the site plan, I've drawn up a number of them. We've got the architect that's on board, but we still don't have a signed contract. It's not unusual. I've done, you know, many projects for years and years with no actual contract with an architect. So to have him, you know, kind of slow down on the get-go, he wants to make sure he's got a solid scope of what we're doing before he, you know, locks down. But right now, we've got a fellow, excellent guy, Jonathan Lee out of Petoskey, and I went through probably 40 architects, you know, almost every, you know, commercial architect in northern Michigan. So we called them, a lot of them were just quick conversations. Hey, this is kind of what we're doing. Do you have time? No, I'm out 2 years. Or if we got past that first question, are you willing to price in more of a cost to your, you know, to your shop? No, we're 10%. Okay, goodbye. You know, so a lot of those conversations, or it went that they just didn't feel comfortable. You you know, they were good at this and good at that, but they hadn't done something like this and they didn't want to take it on. So that was, you know, dozens of conversations to just kind of peel through that. And in the end, I got down to about 4 good people. You know, seemed like they were pricing well, competent, and what have you. But then, you know, one of them, you know, they had an internal meeting and they thought, they just, with everything they had going on, they couldn't, you know, take care of us now. So I ended up with this Jonathan Lee, who is a great guy. He went to Fairview High School. He's a Northern Michigan guy. I think his son runs an office down in Ann Arbor. But if you look on his website, really just fabulous portfolio. So that's where we are architectural-wise. So we've got a list on the site plan as far as what's included and what's not. And a lot of them are be able to, you know, driving in to load up the Meals on Wheels, keeping it flat, having a variety of both exercise and just kind of, I wouldn't say mental health, but things to help the person, you know, lifestyle type things. And then so to compile that list of kind of the ideal set, right, the ideal things, we've done a number of things, just straight research on, you know, what makes a great community center / senior center, what do we want, and then just calling. I don't even know how many centers I've called across the country. If I got 15 minutes, I just think to myself, Jackson, Mississippi, and I look in the phone, do they have a community center? I call them, and just 10, 15-minute conversations. And one thing that's interesting that's come up a number of times is you get the director, and no one will have made room for the basic storage of office supplies and things like that, right? And they're like, we got this big center, we got no room to store the basics, right? You know, it's in the corner of the bathroom. So you get a lot of funny things, but one other thing that came up, there's been a number of repetitive issues that have been brought to light, but one of them is keeping control of kids. You know, just being honest, a lot of these places, the director will really vet when just because they can, they don't even know me, so they'll say that, you know, it started off that it became like an unofficial babysitter. Dropped some children off and they just were raising Cain and unsupervised. And so almost every one of them went then overboard, right? They had too stringent rules and what have you, and that, you know, you can't do this and you can't do that. So what I've gleaned from a lot of conversations is that addressing a good set of rules of conduct right off the bat and kind of setting expectations is really important. You think you're dropping your kid off and somehow he's just going to raise Cain here, that's not going to happen. So those are some things that came up. And then so when it goes to the kitchen side, like, so if you break down the various components of the building itself, we've got a great group that basically does nothing but make kitchens for senior centers, you know. And so the guy tells me, Andy, I did 11 of these last year. You tell me how many, you know, meals you want to put out or what you're going to have, and we'll generate a kitchen. So we're looking good there. We've got a great group. I see you got actually some pretty nice machines over here, but we've got a group called Matrix. They just do high-end, you know, really all the MSU, U of M, the CMU, you know, big facilities like that. They're a provider of kind of all the gym equipment in a nice package, and then they dominate Michigan so well that they've got a guy every day on the road, and they've got a great just repair and warranty situation. So if the machine goes down, just call, and this fellow's going to be roaming through and take care of stuff. So those are some things we're working on. Some issues came up with Eagle, just so everyone knows. They were rattled that they saw someone said there was work going on, and they thought that it was the other people trying to do something they've already told they weren't supposed to do. So I had a nice conversation with this fellow from Eagle, Joe Renke, and when I explained to him what our general plan was and what we definitely weren't doing, he was super happy. So he's got my phone number, he's got my email, we communicate, and I said, hey, well, as soon as we actually have a site plan, I'll get it out to you just so you know you're good. He thought we needed a couple permits. I explained to him we didn't cross any of those thresholds, and so he's fine. We have our soil erosion permit through Alcona Building Department, and really our program right now is you can see we're clearing, we're stumping, we're going to store our topsoil underneath the power lines along the back there. and then we're gonna get a flat plate. And so one of my goals is to not have a single step in this entire facility. The only step will be from the asphalt to the curb, and of course there'll be handicap ramps, but we're so fortunate that we have a sand site, which is just no big deal to level. You know, if I was faced with rock or heavy clay, we might look at some, you're kind of like, that could be easier to have some steps and a ramp. But this site, we're gonna make flat. You know, in the area that we're actually working, it'll come down from Dollar General, it'll run flat, it'll drop off to Mahalik, but the middle zone where everything will be should be pretty flat. There'll be a little bit of grade coming off the road for the cars, but in the parking lot, on an icy condition, anything more than a 1% cross grade can get you. And so I just know from doing Home Depots in the day, because people have heavy carts and what have you, they have an absolute rule of no greater than a 1% grade change in their parking lot, and we're going to maintain that. So I know 1% or less, you know, is a manageable situation. We're going to go, one of the things that we've worked through is, so Harry Harvey does not have the classification to be the plan reviewer for a project of this size. So he hands off to a fellow named Don Gilman, who is in Alpena. And Don, I've done a few buildings with up there, great guy, very intelligent. And so when he understood I wasn't basically, you know, running the job, the construction portion and development, he was just super happy, you know, and he right off the bat offered us basically a 90% reduction in fees. So round numbers, you can figure 40 grand for a building like this is about what if I was doing it, that's what I expected. That'd be my budget number for, you know, for plan review and inspections. And without me even asking, he just said, look, I'm gonna be 3,400, maybe 4 grand. That's all I'm gonna charge you. You know, so that, you know, but then more than that, he offered his assistance during the process. He's like, as soon as you get a set of plans, give them to me. You know, I'll scan them through, and if I can give you any pointers, I will. Invaluable, you know, just to have Don Gilman on our team. So anyhow, early on, I realized we did not have the water to run a fire suppression system, and then to try to do that, is what you can have pumps and tanks and all this kind of stuff, and then fire suppression, but then you have to have all these certifications and ongoing maintenance and what have you. You don't want to do it if you can avoid it. So we came up with these fire blocks, basically 12,000 square foot, you know, fire separated with walls and what have you, and fire doors. The fire door is a little pricey, but in the scheme of things, it's still the least expensive way to go. And plus, you're going to be concrete, steel, and glass, things that are hard to burn in the first place, right? And it's going to be you're not going to have any wood in there, it'll be metal studs. But even within all that, so you've got a flat space, you know, no need for elevators and things like that. You've got these blocks of fire areas, you know, approved by the building department. And then Carolyn mentioned, I was chatting with her, and she kind of said, oh, you know, we got seniors, and so I was thinking, you know what? So one of our design components is we're going to be way under the required minimum for exit, right? So let's say in this room we got the one exit door. Well, we'll have 2. You know, big deal, right? The doors made $1,000, and so it's going to be designed with being better than code, which means shorter travel distances, more exits, in addition to what'll still be all the normal fire safety things, which these days, in a commercial building, you almost have to, a brand new commercial building, you almost have to try to burn it down, and then even that, it's pretty challenging, you know. So I feel like we're going to have a very safe building, absent the presence of actual fire suppression systems. But of course, in the kitchen, there would be a halon system. So, but that's a little different. So anyhow, that's where we are. There was an issue on septic and water, and we've in all the site plan generations so far, I've got probably 2 times the area that I think we could possibly need. We're going to utilize an Elgin system, which it's really just a black big sponge essentially. It's kind of a filter. It's 3 feet by 4 feet, and by utilizing this LGEN system, you reduce your field size by about 50%, round numbers, right? So we've got, from what I can tell, twice of what I think we could possibly need for the building, and then even that will be a factor of half using the Elgin system. So that'll be designed, we've got Bob Goodhart, Pathfinder Engineering, top-notch civil engineer. We just got lucky that he had a big project that got put on hold and was able to take ours on. And he's, studying that, and we'll make sure that we've got, that doesn't become a problem. It's not going to bite us when we're going along. We'll have no problem meeting our commercial separations for well and septic, and we've got identified all the perimeter wells and perimeter septic, so that's not appearing to be a problem. On the residential, the zoning ordinance, so we're B1, and everything you could dream that you'd have in a center, a use of it, is allowed in B1, right? There's just endless amounts of activities that are allowed in B1 of everything we would want, until you get to residential, which had previously not been allowed whatsoever, and apparently it was added. And what it says is multiple family dwelling units with an asterisk. Well, I can't find that asterisk, so I'm still trying to figure out what's attached to that asterisk. I'm going to ask them, and maybe nothing of consequence. But what happened is we were thinking that we would, have maybe 800 square foot homes to satisfy the housing component of the grant, but that will have to now be connected in some way. So to me, when I got thinking multi-family, if you had 8 units, it would maybe be one building, 6,400. You can vary and do offsets, but that's kind of how that would be. And then again, well and septic on that, either one to serve all or individuals, and that will just kind of play with the costs and benefits when we get there. So where we are right now is that, and I've just been through this so many times, trying to do site planning for even you guys too, for anybody to understand, okay, what is 200 by 100? What is 600 by, it's just hard. But when you come, we're gonna have stakes on the site. So my plan is we are gonna get to a nice flat site, and then we're gonna have what, kind of this site plan competition, if you will, amongst the people working on it. And then we're gonna have stakes on site, and we're gonna have spray painted lines, and you're gonna be able to walk it. And that is the best way to get a handle as to what that, what is 200 by 400? I know I've been doing it for 40 years, but for most people it's hard to comprehend. And where is the parking area, what have you. So the day will come, not only when we, soon, I'm hoping in a couple of 3 weeks, we're gonna not only have a site plan to present, but also, basic staking and painting and what have you, so you can walk on the site and get a feel for it. And so that's where we're going. The sequence is site plan approval from the commission, and then subsequently with the village. And we had, Leroy and I had just an informal presentation to the village a week or 2 ago, and it was really just kind of giving a heads up, this is what we're up to. And Sheila loved it, quite honestly, and had a couple ideas that she recommended, some garages on the doors. And then I got a copy of the zoning ordinance. I've since emailed out. I had this scanned, and so we have 2 actual physical copies, plus Leroy and Bob, I emailed the actual zoning ordinance. But the biggest thing is they've got some technical things that need to be included on the site plan. I got those to the civil engineer, and there's this interesting working together with the civil and the architect, because the civil is focusing on radiuses, parking, setbacks, all those kind of things, whereas the architect is more, working on the building and the layout. And my job is to marry the 2 of those and to balance those concerns. So that's coming along, and that's really where we are. I'm bidding on the light side a lot of things, right? So I'm involved, talking to Train, for instance, so we can buy, with my previous contacts and previous work, we're able to buy directly from Train. And working with a guy at Grand Rapids, it's really better to have Train specking your units than it is to have your engineer, because they know, the engineer might not realize there's a 1-year lead time on product X, but we can get product Y, which is almost the same thing, in half the time. So we're working on that, and just I could run through the whole gamut, whether it's roofing, glass, doors, etc. So there's work on all those fronts going on. And then that's really where we are. We're just gonna get that, and then the architect, I think it's just only gonna be a matter of days till we actually have a signed contract with him. And as soon as I get one in my email, I'll get it out to Leroy and Bob. So that's really where we are. We're just coming along, and hopefully we'll have something to, professional to show you. I send pictures of I call it the bubble phase, where you're kind of just working on, you're not trying to hone in on anything, you're just kind of like sketching and what have you, and colored with, your daughter could probably color better, but I send pictures over to Bob and Leroy, and you can kind of see they're evolving, and we're coming along. So that's really where we are.
I know I had a couple of questions of things we had talked about or things I wanted to. You said that your conversations with the architect, when you kind of compared apples to apples and oranges to oranges, compared to who we were with, you think to do the same thing, the people you sign up with, it's going to be from 1/3 to 1/4 of the cost.
That's
what
correct.
we had been estimated with our previous people.
That's correct. So if you take, and this, I told you before, one of the things that just keeps burning me up, I have to just let it go with SIDOC, is that they gave a huge number, and then they excluded all the things that you have to do anyhow. And it just bothered me. I keep telling, Bob, it's like you go to buy a Rolls Royce, and then you're floored by this crazy number, and they tell you, well, it doesn't include the tires, and there's no engine in it, the engine's extra. And so when you take the SIDOC plus what it was going to take, I get to $1 million. That's where that number would have been. And I feel there was like $1.2 million number out there, and I just felt like their goal was to get as much of that as they possibly could. And I don't like to say anything bad about anybody, but I can tell you, when I was talking to Eagle, and he, I gotta be careful because I don't want to say what he actually said, but let's just say that he was darn happy. He did not feel they were competent. That's the bottom line, He did, because it was like, why? It would be like me saying I want to make this building into a rocket launch pad, right? It's just so far-fetched fantasy. It's ridiculous, and to spend another person's money to do that is just not right. And so when, the other plan just violated so many obvious, almost impossibilities. It just seemed odd. So anyhow, going back to our guy, is that he's, his contract is 100% no exceptions, right? That's the first thing. Two, he crafted it on dozens of conversations with me on ballpark T&M type stuff, right? So I could ask him, it's just cool, you can just talk to him and say, how many hours do you think it's going to take, two dress people at $80 an hour to do these plans? And he's like, well, it's going to be this much, could be about that much. And so we went through all the various people, right? You have different tranches, and the hourly rate generally in the community is pretty standard, right? So a drafts person's getting $70 an hour. Lead architect is probably in the $250 an hour, and there's a whole, they have slightly different names and slightly different rates, but this, the more confident the person is, the more challenging the thing they're doing, the more they're getting paid. But to price in a fair way of, okay, I'm thinking it's going to be about 90 hours of this person and 300 hours of that person, and then to put your price together like that, that's to me the fair way to do it for both parties, and that's what our guy's done. So we're somewhere, and again, we had been up in the 60,000 square foot building. That was about as much as I could kind of fit it and keep it on one level and have parking and not have it be cramped. But then we're reviewing, do we need 60,000 square feet? Just because we can afford to build it, just because it can get done. And then his initial pricing was kind of in that 60. So I think that could be part of why he's holding off on the final submission of his AIA contract. I can tell you, we're in the, I think that we're going to be somewhere in that price, that's somewhere in that schedule. I keep giving to these guys, I say, okay, some things are standard, right? You take a basketball court, for instance, and you've got a fixed size, and then you can go to a certain height, and then if you have a little extra room, you can get 2 volleyball courts. So it's wise to be, at a certain size. And then we're in these 12,000 square foot blocks from the fire standpoint. So I'm feeling, my gut tells me we're going to be right around 48,000 square feet is how I kind of see it. And so with those numbers, he's, that quarter to third. So, but more than that, I got to tell you, what's way more important almost than the actual cost is that he of doing a good design at a reasonable cost. You get some knucklehead architect to spec out gazillion-dollar stuff and then finds out you can't afford to build 5,000 square feet of this insane spec, and then I gotta fight him on every single component, you know? And what's really great with this fellow is that he gets it. You know, when it comes to a fire, like that's called a Van Duperen, and so if you're talking a fire exit door and you're gonna have a, you know, this emergency exit component, sure, we're gonna spec a good product and I'm gonna get you a really nice door with a really nice thing. But when it comes to a window up there, you know, again, I keep using examples of windows because they vary so much. You can have someone spec you a $10,000 window that don't do nothing different than the $2,000 window. And that's equally important. I feel SIDOC, they would have been the $10,000 window all day long on every single thing, and this would have been a nightmare. But with this guy, he's just going to be judicious in how he's going to carefully think out his specs, and that is invaluable, really.
Yeah, well, 48,000 square foot to 60,000 is anywhere from 60% to 100% more than what we had previously thought we'd be able to build.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. The building part, I can get you a ton of square footage. That's not the thing, but it goes back to what Judy was mentioning. It's the wise use of space. You know, because let's say you take a gym, sometimes you go in there and they got 84 lines. You know, you can play badminton, pickleball, this, that. And in the meantime, you don't know what's going on because there's too many dark lines in there, you know? So there's definitely like and then they might have, you know, so many obstructions for various other things. You can't even use it for one thing. So there's that kind of, you don't want to pack too much. So there's definitely a wise point. And then as far as meeting rooms, like if you go to Aplex, or I've been in almost now every northern Michigan community center / senior center, and you can just see you definitely need a big meeting room. There are times when you want to have the ability to have a nice big meeting, and then at the same time it's weird when you're just having a small meeting, and so it's good to have either pullers or ways to have various size meeting rooms. And then from a revenue stream, it's just great. You guys can just, who knows who might want it. Road Commission it's got a big project coming up. They want to, and they're going to pay you $3,000. Use that big old room for a night, and so it's just a great thing to have. And so there's things like that. I don't want to miss something I don't want to have the building be done and go, dang, we should put another 1,000 square feet into X or Y, But at the same time, every night, I don't want to have 1,000 square foot going, what did we build that for? It was stupid, like we shouldn't have done that. So it's just daily, just really running through the filters and running, considerations and that's that I'm just working on the ideal, trying to spend the right amount of money on the right square footage that's ideally, and then, I keep coming back to the report card is always usage. 2 years, 3 years down the road, the community loves this place. It gets used all the time. If someone's thinking about doing X or Y, their first thought is the Lincoln Center, So that's what we're striving for. We'll see how it goes.
You said you're trying to keep like $1 million in contingency.
Absolutely.
But you also had said a lot of projects you've worked on, you would have already been kind of dipping into your contingency, but that's not been the case thus far. It's been very, very smooth.
Such a blessing. So I've been pinned to the wall, right? We don't even have concrete out of the ground, and I burned my contingency. I can tell you times on projects where we had to hire federal blasting companies to get our underground situated. It was terrible. And I've been there many times, quite honestly. Dewatering issues. You had a fill site you didn't know of. All the soil borings missed a freaking garbage dump right in the middle of your project. Just terrible things. And so to get to a level site and not hitting we're actually under, just so my ballpark budget of where we were, knock on wood at this moment, we're under where I was kind of thinking, it's going good. Jake's been doing great. So again, he gave us discounted rates, and every day he's thinking, how can we run efficiently? And that's just to have that attitude, again, is invaluable. Most times downstate, the attitude is, how can I give it to this person to get as much as I can, right? And we're just, locally, people are just, they know their family's going to be out there, and they're just trying to do a good job. So and then going to the $1 million, so this is my partner that passed away years ago. he, and we were, his son and me were in our 20s, and he's like, you knuckleheads, if whatever we're doing a shopping center, right? He would put $1 million that we couldn't get our hands on. And sure enough, sometimes we need part of that money as we were going along. So yeah, in this case, we're just gonna put $1 million contingency. It'll be right on the sworn statement. And in my mind, I'm gonna think it's not there, right? You can't get to it. And then it should pain you every time you gotta dip into that contingency. But a lot of times it happens though, you know. So.
One other thing, I think Dolores brought this up at a previous meeting, that we were going to have to pay, I don't know, $120 an hour travel time to have any of them ever come talk to us. We're never going to have to do that with Andy because he's working a mile away.
Yeah.
So I would like if you could come every Tuesday, every month,
Also,
even if you just gave us a 10-minute update.
Yeah, certainly. And then I don't know, so every night I prepare job notes and I send them out to Bob and to Leroy. And they're partially for my benefit, partially just it's a professional thing to do, have a good record. And then a lot of times as I'm writing, I'm like, oh wait, I didn't do that, or I got to do that. But well, those are always been, on the job site. And our trailers come on Thursday. Right now it's so inefficient for me to go email or scan or print. I got to run home, which is over in Harrisville. Yesterday, I ran home 3 times. It's just so inefficient. But with our trailers coming on Thursday, we got our temp power pole put in yesterday. We're getting our inspection today, and I already talked to consumer. So as soon as we get that inspection, they got to actually set a little transformer up there. That's just the power for the construction trailer for now. We're not ready to design our overall electrical load. But yeah, it's just, there's just so much on a daily basis. But we'll have a nice trailer. We picked a size that is just professional, but not over. It's good enough. It's kind of, we bid the heck out of that trailer. And in the end, they're going like hotcakes. So one day, we got a good price on a good trailer. And I'm like, Leroy, we got to get it right now, And so we had, how many we missed, I don't know ahead of that. But yeah, so Thursday we'll have a construction trailer. And then, available, I'll be there all the time. I'll have an office set up. And then even when the architects come, I told them, I said, we'll have an office in there. A lot of times for trades, I like to have one extra office because no matter who you are, sometimes it's just nice to be able to sit in a quiet spot, crunch through your drawings, read through your specs, and it's just good to have. So that's that.
Any other questions? Okay. Andy, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So the budget is ongoing. One thing I'd like to get that I don't have, so I'm going to get you, we just had a couple bills come in yesterday. We spent maybe $20,000 or, not actually paid, but we spent about 20 grand a day. I'd like to see from okay, here's the money from the total grant. How much has been spent to date, right? What's our net number? And then so what we're doing, so we're working with Landmark Title on a sworn statement format, and then I've hired for myself Nick Cordis with Phil Straley's office to double check me. And that's just my own thing. So he's going to come to the construction trailer. Did I make any mathematical errors? Did we get super busy and double pay an invoice? Anything like that. But I like a second set of eyes in addition to you guys will have your stuff. But we'll have plenty of people. The title company has their own reviewers. We'll have me plus Nick Cordis. You guys will have, what's her name, Swenson, or people in Tawas? Stevenson. And then with you. So we'll keep track of the numbers and make sure that, great. Yeah, so I'll just email, what I did, so I just finished this last night, I just did a tally of where we are at this moment, and then what I'll do for the porta potties we just got yesterday, that's like a big thing, on the construction site. Be careful walking the trees for a little bit, we got our porta potties, so that's a good one. But that, so right now we've got 2, and then we're going to switch to a handicap. I always like one handicap. So anyhow, but yeah, let's work with you, and we'll keep the numbers just totally straight, and that'll be that. But I can't wait to just to be able to have an office on site. I try to, it's a key thing. It makes me nervous right now to not be on the site when work's going on, But I like to be on the site all the time, unless I'm at the county or, running out to get something. But that's my MO. Cool. Any questions? Just let us know, and anything comes up, just get a hold of me.
I had one quick question, and I already know the answer, I think, but you are licensed and insured?
So I am insured. There's no licensing for a commercial general contractor, and I kind of run through how that works. So I have tremendous personal liability if I do one thing, and I'm going to tell you about that. How the flow works is this. Once the architectural drawings that have within them stamped, sealed structural drawings, and then also civil engineering drawings that are stamped and sealed. Those are the three governing documents of building a building, okay? And so I don't look at the drawing and think, oh, it says, an 8-inch pipe, I'll put in a 6-inch pipe. I think that's good enough. If I did that, it's illegal, okay? That gives me immediate liability. So I build to drawings, and if in any way we vary from those drawings, there's a standard procedure, AIA forms, to do an approved change order. So, we're on site, and I'm like, geez, that's really crazy. We got, an 8-inch pipe. I know a 6-inch pipe's good enough. I submit a change order proposal. It goes to the architect. He either approves it or doesn't. And then let's say it's change order number 94, okay? So on our prints, you'll be able to see print 1, 2 to 94, and that'll be on site. And then we always know you always have your latest print, your latest version at the top, so the other ones will be back there so people don't get confused. But my job, and where all the liability comes, is that I have to build per the drawings. And then the way that's insured or kind of checked is that we have inspecting engineers for almost everything. So I'm getting quotes, but it's a group out of Bay City is how they're just going to be the most efficient. But everything gets checked. That's how commercial works. The concrete shows up, the guy takes a little sample of it, takes it back to his shop, makes sure it's the concrete it's supposed to be. And then takes various samples. And then when it comes to, you name it, the torque on the welds or the torque on the bolts for the steel, there's a testing engineer and he's checking the torque on those, and that's how commercial construction is completely different than residential construction. So that's that. But the insurance is, I'm glad you brought that up. So I carry now, I bumped everything, I'm at $5 million of liability insurance, so, hopefully don't be suing me. But we've got to get in place builder's risk and a specific policy for the construction. We're okay right now, but real soon that's got to be on the upper to-do list. So.
What kind of insurance do you normally require of the architect and the other?
So errors and omission, you usually keep it $2 million. $2 million, it used to be $1 million forever, then it went to $2 million. But so that would be a standard. But really, see, my job from a team control is to study the prints and to find any mistake. I'm not trying to, and this is how it oftentimes goes, just so you know. Like the GC, first thing he's going to do, he's got a person in the office that to stick it to the architect guy, right? And he's going to get his quiver, he's going to have 50 things, hey boss, he missed this, this doesn't add up, we can get him on that one. And that's how the game gets played, And then a normal construction manager, he's just like, well, how can we take advantage of these specs? And that's why just having a developer, I'm not out for any of that stuff. And so, I'm looking out, it's just simple, what I call, Christian principles is that I'm looking out for the architect. And I'm expecting him to look out for us. And I'm looking out for every person on that job site so they don't make a mistake. And if they do make a mistake, I'm going to correct it as fast as we can, as cheap as we can. And if there's some problem in any of the drawings, I'm going to identify them as fast as I can so the architect can fix it, just so we don't have, we're just looking for a perfect building. I'm not looking to stick it to anybody, And I'm hoping no one tries to stick it to us. But I'm ready to defend if they try. So.
We're glad you're on board.
Well, thank you. Look forward to it. It's going to be a good one. Yeah, I will. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Andy, appreciate it. One thing that I really enjoy is, I think Andy mentioned it, Bob and I get a daily sheet of what's been done that day. All activities, who's on the job, even the weather. So all those are being stored, so we have access to those forever. So anyway, Okay, Gary, you said a commissioner's report. Our commissioner, yes? Ms. Brumman.
I may not always every month say something, but this month, you found at your place a fair folder, and the other thing that was tucked inside of it was the information regarding the Forgotten Eagles. Forgotten Eagles are mostly made up of veterans. They travel through the particular group is chapter 3. There are 6 chapters, I believe, in Michigan of Forgotten Eagles. And they will be coming through on August 3rd, Thursday. They leave Oscoda at noon, and they are amazingly on time. And they're coming up northbound on US 23, and they arrive in the Harrisville area around 20 after, and they do a short memorial presentation down at the flag at the corner of 23 and 72. I invite you to stand any place on 23. I tell everybody, you're welcome to use my driveway if you want to. But there are a lot of places. You could stand at the new Greenbush Market in their parking lot. Stand, wave your flag, and wave for them. We now have a reputation in Alcona County as being the most hospitable county to these ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to keep that going and improve on it every year. So I invite you to go get your flag and stand somewhere on 23 where they will see you, wave to them, pick up your neighbor's kids, whatever. And then if you're able to, come down to where the flag is at the county building and be a part of that service. The money that they raise, and they do raise money as they go, is used for various things through the year. One year it was used for scholarships of fallen soldiers for their children. One year it was used for ramps. It's just a whole bevy of things it might be used for. It's usually different every year, generally speaking. But those of you who know me very well know that I am a huge, and I can't even talk about it without getting emotional. I am a huge supporter of the military. And this is one more time when Alcona County can say, veterans, we want to demonstrate our care, our passion for the United States of America, and I think this is a chance to do it, and I invite you to be part of that. We've had as many as 50 motorcycles, or 55. Some years it's down to 30 or something. And strangely enough, and I think most of you can relate to this, some of the bikers aren't able to be bikers anymore. They're still alive and well, but getting on that Harley 55 miles an hour, they just don't do it anymore. And this is a 3-day trip they take. They're starting in Mount Pleasant, and then they end up back in Mount Pleasant. But some of them are sleeping in tents or that type of thing. So it's kind of a tough trip. The other things I wanted to mention, MIDC is Michigan Indigent Defense Commission. We have been with that program for about 5 years. What it is if a person who is accused of a crime does not have the money to defend themselves, I know sometimes it's like, they just bought a $40,000 car, why can't they defend? I get it, but there are a lot of them that truly can't. This provides them with an attorney, but there are some pretty heavy regulations with that. And periodically, the audit they're doing is 2020 through through 2021. One of the other things going on in the county is the utilization of the opioid money. You probably over the last few years have heard that the pharmaceuticals and distributors are being sued. This is lawsuit money. It is not grant money. But there are some very specific things we can do with it. We can do prevention, we can do treatment, or we can do recovery. And one of these times I will tell you about the NEST, which is the county is supporting and a couple of the churches in the area are supporting. It's rehabilitation home, but I'll tell you more later. Anyway, the opioid committee is meeting monthly now. So far, we have approximately $280,000 that will come into the county within 18 years. I believe that number is going to increase. The reason I say that is not all the lawsuits are done, and there's going to be more. So I think it's going to be up toward closer to the 300,000 figure. But you also have obligations as far as the opioid. The drugs that you are given, first of all, don't push to your doctor for drugs, for opioid type of drugs. I know sometimes it hurts, but be brave. And if you do have some and you're done taking them, please, you can bring them to the sheriff's department. They have a red canister there inside the sheriff's department that you can drop them in. If you don't want to do that, I'll take them over to the sheriff's office. Bring them into one of our meetings, and I will take them over. Please don't let your grandkids get a hold of them. They don't even know how to use them, and they shouldn't be using them. They were prescribed for an adult for very special reasons and a very special method. And they should not be taking them. They shouldn't have access to them. So store your drugs someplace where you can get to them and you can use them. Your medicine cabinet in your bathroom is not a good place. Because if you have guests, especially young guests, they might check your medicine cabinet. They do it all the time. So anyway, that's all I have for today.
Thank you very much. Okay, we have one more special guest today, and that'll be the Director of NIMSCA, Lori Sauer.
Oh, no.
No?
I'm not the director of NIMSCA. No.
Nope.
I am the director of Region 9 Area Agency on Aging, which is a division of NIMSCA. Very significant difference. Yeah.
I read wrong.
No, that's Lisa Boland. I'm here at your will today. I am not really prepared to make a formal presentation. I didn't know if you had specific questions of me. Our staff typically attend these meetings as technical assistants should you have questions or need clarity on the rules and regulations for the programs that you provide that we provide you funding with. I am interested to hear about your project moving forward for the new center and the housing units. That's very exciting. Sounds like he's done some good due diligence in visiting some centers around the state. I would just like to mention that there are some centers, new senior centers in Northeast Michigan within our region that have done a lot of work. And I would encourage you maybe to do some day trips to visit those centers and hear some of their trials and tribulations and successes as they went through this process. Ogama County, a number of years ago, built a brand new site on M33, so that's a really good one to look at. Some remodeling projects that went on are in Roscommon County. Crawford County is currently in process, and then Otsego County also purchased a new building and has remodeled it. Several of these locations have adult day programs. I know you tried the adult day program in the past and decided to close that program down, but if that's something that you might see in your future, it will give you a good idea of what types of facilities might be needed. Also, storage needs, you want to make sure that you're building for what you need, but also thinking of the future. Alcona County has a high population of older adults, so it's an important thing to pay attention to as you're moving forward with your plans, and excited to see how it grows. The other thing, I understand you're making this into a community center as well, which has been a trend that a lot of senior centers have been doing in different areas of the country, some in Michigan as well. In Michigan, though, we have a unique challenge in programming that was put in place in 2021. Our legislature passed a law, Public Act 28 of 2021, which requires any entity working with AAAs to ensure that all volunteers and staff have criminal history checks. So that includes your ICHAT, your National Sex Offender, and Michigan Sex Offender. So when you're thinking about intergenerational programming, which I fully support, you have to keep that in mind, that any intermingling of adults with youth or any other types of volunteers, you must have the background checks conducted prior to whatever service they'll be providing. That has caused some real obstacles around the state. Other than that, I don't know if you have any specific questions for me.
Several years ago, when Sue Gray was on our executive directors, we took a trip over there to Ogama, and that place is really, really nice. They had one or two rooms with a hospital bed in it. And,
Yes, that would be their adult day center.
right.
Yep.
And if someone had to go shopping or wanted relief, they could bring them there, and there'd be somebody there to watch over them and everything.
Right.
And I thought that was really nice, and it's really a nice facility, big kitchen and everything.
Yeah, the adult day programs are a really nice option for caregivers, especially if they have someone they're caring for with dementia. They know they can take them to a really safe location where they're going to be cared for, fed a meal or whatever. It gives that person a break so they can do things for some self-care so that they don't get burned out. But yeah, so.
That impressed me quite a bit.
Right.
And Leroy gave us a paper to write ideas down. That's what I put on there.
Yeah, in the Ogama Center, one of the challenges they had initially with their building, that's why I say it's nice to visit these other centers and talk to their directors, is you hear about some of the things when they were planning they didn't realize would happen. They have a very large dining area, and they use that dining area for parties, community events and things, but the acoustics. The ceiling was so high, and they didn't have whatever insulation or whatever was needed to make the sound much better. So it would be quite echoey when you had events. They've made some changes now. They've lowered some parts of the ceiling, and they've built in some of that padding around the structure to accommodate some of that noise reduction or feedback from those events. So just those kinds of things, I think you would get some really good little tips on things to consider when you're looking at your building.
I mentioned it to several people, and I don't know, it just seems so, he doesn't know what he's talking about. So I think it should take another trip over there and take a look at it. Maybe get some ideas or something.
Yeah, and Carol Gilman, the director there, she's been around for a long time. She can talk about changes that they've seen in terms of people frequenting the center and things that they're telling the board and such that they need when you're thinking about future programming.
They used to be right in town.
It did. They used to have a couple locations. They condensed their operation into that one facility. And there was a lot of turmoil initially. That's a hard thing. Change is hard. We all know that. But it's worked out very well for them. And now they have lots of activities going on, lots of participation from the communities, and it's a real bustling place.
Any other questions?
Well, I think you all know where to find me if you do, so feel free to reach out.
I think you've
Lori,
got
Lori,
quite a few
before
from these two ladies here, though.
Yeah, Lori, before you leave, I just wanted to thank you and your team for diligently working with us to compile a list of items that are required, both yearly, bi-yearly, and monthly. Some of them, most of them are reports. Many of them dating back to October that your team has not received. If they did receive it, they weren't received correctly. And I just wanted you to be aware that we are working diligently to updating those reports and getting them done not only on time, but done correctly.
Absolutely. Appreciate that.
Yes, and we appreciate your team helping us get there.
I know there was some good conversation the other day when they were out, and
Yes.
hopefully together we can get this all sorted and move forward in a positive way.
You're going to be doing a much better job.
Good.
Okay?
Look forward to it. Great. And we're here if you need us.
Okay, I know. They've been very good with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. And I guess we'll move on to the Executive Director's Report. Wendy Bain. Wendy's our new Executive Director. Kind of sad to see that she's no longer on the board, but we're very thankful to have her as our Executive Director. So.
Thank you. I don't really have lots. I've only been here for like 2 weeks. But one of the main things Connie just touched on is we found that there was several reports that have been done incorrectly over the last several months. So that's a main thing that we're working diligently on to get those fixed. I have updated the handbook. It's now in the board's hands for review. So I'm waiting for everybody to review that, and then Lori's offered to also look at it and let me know if there's anything I may have missed in there that we need to have, so that's great. Let's see. I have met with every employee individually to just get ideas, what they want, what they don't want. I'm going to start having a monthly meeting or weekly meeting with the DCW workers and the kitchen, because they've not ever had that or haven't had it for months, and they just want some interaction or somebody to talk to. So I'm going to start doing that. And then we do have a staff meeting that was scheduled previous to me for Friday. A couple of the speakers have dropped out, so it's going to be shortened up a little bit, but we're still going to do that. I want to do a little team building activity with breakfast in the morning, then we'll have the speakers, and then we're going to have a little lunch, and then we'll be done. So, but I would like to have start doing like some more team meetings just to get everybody together and things like that. I got a lot of feedback from talking to everybody, so I just need to start following through with what the employees want. So.
I have one question, I think, to follow up on that. One thing that you and Connie and Patty uncovered with the help of NEMSCA people is that we, ACCOA, had been paying our direct care workers a $2.35 premium, that we have never filled out any of the paperwork to get that reimbursed from the state, going back to October.
Correct.
So that will be some money, but that's not the only thing that hasn't been filled out, that we should be able to get some, through their help, be able to get some funds back. So actually, we've been underfunded in a way by NEMSCA, not through their fault, but through our...
Right, since I think last October was the last correct month, and from there on, Connie has to
contract you have with the state for adult home health.
Right.
But that should be getting us some funds that just were not
Correct.
ever reclaimed by us.
We were paying it out, but we weren't getting reimbursed. The same with a grant that Wendy ran across, dated 2021. Staff at it and said, gave
Yeah,
a
so
call.
I mean, you all had uncovered, 14 different things.
Yeah.
One way or another, reports that weren't being done,
Right.
and more than half of them go back to last October that they
Correct.
hadn't been done. So we're very grateful that they were helping you uncover those things.
Yes.
And if I may, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it is, we can only go back to October because that's the current fiscal year we are in.
Right.
But the money we lost from October 1st, we were also losing it in September and August and July and June.
Yeah, I'm not sure how far it went back, but
Right.
I think that's because allowing us to go back to October forward to make the corrections so that we can get the reimbursement.
But I think, in fairness, we need to recognize that that was lost income the year before. We came into 22-23 without as much money as we should have because of that billing error, if you will.
And then the grant, I just happened to find, I was starting to go through the drawers, I found a grant, and I just kind of said to Connie, hey, because she's a searcher here, can you dig into this and see if this is anything? It might not be anything. And she made a couple calls, and it was for $5,000, and the check is in the mail. So it just never, everything was done, they just never followed through with it.
Any other questions?
I did give the direct care workers and the kitchen work a raise. They haven't had for years, so we were able to do that with the board's approval.
That's going to be one of the executive committee actions that the whole board will ratify under when Leroy talks about that. But
Conclude your report?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, so now I guess we move on to mine. Have several, since we only have board meetings once a month, obviously there's lots of things that come up before the next board meeting that we have to take care of, and the executive committee is allowed to do that. So we have several here, and they have to be ratified by the entire board. So I'll start off with the first one. This was July 5th. Pursuant to Article 6, Section 8 of the ACCOA bylaws, the executive committee shall consist of the 4 elected officers and shall be empowered to act on behalf of the board in matters which require an immediate decision. Action may be taken in person, by email, by teleconference, or by phone. Executive committee decisions will be presented to the board for ratification at its next meeting. Therefore, the ACCOA Executive Board, via unanimous vote, nominates and elects the following individuals to the nominating committee: Dr. Bob Turek, Gary Winuk, Wallach Lynch, and Leroy Perrin serving as the ex officio member.
so I will make a motion that the board accept the executive committee action by unanimous vote, which nominated and elected the following individuals to the nominating committee: Dr. Bob Turek, Gary Vinuk, and Ronald Lynch, with Leroy Perrin serving as ex officio member.
I will second that motion.
Okay, first and second. Any discussion on that? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, carries. Moving on to the next one.
I'll just
Okay.
make the motion if you want. I'll just make the motion, right? that first paragraph is going to be the same for everything. It's just read out of our
Yeah, I'm not going
bylaws.
to read the first paragraph for all of them, so. Okay, the next one is, Executive Board via unanimous vote authorizes Wendy Bain, Connie Franzel, and Leroy Perrin to be added as authorized signatories on all ACCOA accounts held with New York Life Investments, and the removal of Denise Trelfa from those same accounts. Additionally, for the purpose of making small building project-related incidental expenditures, the board authorizes the issuance of debit cards in the name of both Andrew Shaw and Leroy Perrin on the New York Life account holding Community Hub project funds.
I would make a motion that the board accept this.
I'll second.
Okay, we have the first and second. Any discussion?
Yeah, just one question. Is it only, will Andy just be able to remove money by himself, or has he got to go through the board or through the executive committee? I guess that's my question.
No, I believe on the debit cards, that's just, everyday expenses. You might have to go up and grab a keg of nails or some screws or something at the hardware store. So no, he doesn't need approval for each one of those, but we will certainly be overseeing, the monthly tally on that and so forth.
Yeah, he anticipated maybe putting a limit of, up to $5,000 on just those debit cards. He's already been up to Lincoln Hardware numerous times buying soil erosion fencing or such like that.
No, that's all. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't carte blanche.
Yeah, oh, no. As it's been so far, I'm very thankful. Andy has been putting everything on his personal account, and just so nothing is slowed down. So, okay. So, any other discussion? All right. And in that case, we'll have a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
Yes.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Roll call, I think, on this one.
Oh yeah, this does have money involved.
Funny roll call. Lynch?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Schlicker?
Yes.
Badam?
Yes.
Turek? Yes.
Okay, next one in line. Therefore, the ACCOA Executive Committee, via unanimous vote, accepts the resignation of Wendy Bain as a director of the ACCOA Board. Hate to see her go, but...
I make a motion to accept Wendy's resignation.
I'd second.
Okay, we have first and second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, will all those in favor say aye? Aye. Those opposed? Okay, carries. Next, therefore, the ACCOA Executive Board, via unanimous vote, authorizes Wendy Bain and Connie Franzel to be added as authorized signatories on all ACCOA accounts at Huron Community Bank and Alpena Area Credit Union, with the removal of Denise Trelfa from those same accounts.
I would move we ratify that action.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have first and second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, that one's also ratified, carries. Okay, the last one I have here. Therefore, the ACCOA Executive Committee, by unanimous vote, authorizes Leroy Perrin to execute closing, grant, transaction, and construction documents on behalf of the Alcona County Commission on Aging Board of Directors.
I'd make a motion to ratify that action.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Any discussion on that matter?
Basically, this just kind of already gives, Landmark Title wanted something a little bit more specific than we had in our bylaws. So this is just, hopefully, this will do for anybody for the next year and a half that needs any kind of authorization or proof that Leroy is authorized to do this. So hopefully this will be a one-time thing that will cover us for the rest of the building project.
Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor to ratify, say yes.
Aye.
Yes. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
And I hear one no, okay. Motion carries.
And then you missed, you might not have gotten one, there's one other one. The ACCOA Executive Committee, it was July 8th, acting upon the recommendation of Executive Director Wendy Bain, by a unanimous vote authorizes an increase in wages of all ACCOA kitchen staff and direct care workers of $2 an hour effective immediately.
Okay, that's much needed.
I'll make a motion to accept, to grant, gratify the salary.
I'll second it. Okay, we have a first and a second. Discussion.
I think this is, we talked about this at the last meeting when Yvette Smigelski was here, as how the direct care workers, we can't fill these positions because the wages we're offering are way too low, and they still might be too low even with this $2 an hour raise, but it's at least a start in going in that direction.
Discussion.
Yes, I would like to say also that when Sue was the executive director here, I talked to her. She never took a raise because the board never really authorized raises for the staff. And these people have had a lot of heart coming in here to take care of things, especially over the last couple of months. So I think it's not enough, but it's well deserved.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that. I'm sorry, Gary.
The raise is well deserved.
Oh, yes, very much so. Okay, so, any other discussion? Roll call vote?
Yes.
Turk? Yes. Vanuck?
Yes.
Schlicker?
Yes.
Perrin?
Yes.
Potter?
Yes.
Weiner?
Yes.
Lynch?
Yes.
Okay, that's the last one that carries. That's all I have. Vice President, do you have any, you have a report?
Yes, I still need at least 1 or 2 people for the fair, for between 4 and 6. Wendy, did you decide yet if you can do that?
I'll do that.
Okay, I got Wendy down, but we do need 1 more person to be there with Wendy, and hopefully 1 more between 2 and 4. So if anybody's interested in doing that. Also, I would like to comment on Kay's report. She was saying that we got this money from United Way. I would like to add that her and Delynn and Jamie spent a great deal of time getting this grant, and they've also applied for, I don't know, 2 or 3 more, which we won't know until September whether we get them or not. But they have put a lot of time into that, into getting the grant, and we appreciate that. But also, last month, we did vote to give the new pop-up pantry the items that was purchased for the pop-up pantry, which is the heaters and the tarps and a lot of miscellaneous things that's still in the yellow truck. And so if it's okay with the board, I would get together with Kay and 2 or 3 people so we can get that stuff out of the yellow truck especially. The other stuff is in our storage unit here that we rent from Brad. But I would like to get that stuff out of the yellow truck, and then in case the yellow truck gets sold or what have you. And leave it in the storage unit until Brad's new building is done. And then he has offered it to us free of charge. The storage unit is going to be free of charge, and he also lets us use the large area across the driveway there. And he takes care of our cardboard for us. And I'm not sure yet what we're going to do about the garbage, but anyway, if the board's okay with it, I would like to get the miscellaneous things out of the yellow truck and put them in with our storage stuff, so when we do get the new building ready, that we can move all of the stuff over there. Because we did vote on it last month and it did pass.
Correct. The specific language says we were passed a motion to donate pantry items and equipment to a new 501c3 food bank group if formed, subject to all regulatory compliance issues being met.
So do we need another motion for that, or can the board just
No, it's already.
say, go ahead and take it? Okay.
I believe the church would have to, because of the
Yeah, well, why is 1C3?
What would we have to do?
I said I believe the church would have to take this considered a 501c3.
The church would have to take it over there, or can it be with our own stuff?
Well, then they would have to authorize it,
Okay.
have a receipt of it, or?
I'm guessing that would be the case, yeah, because unless you guys have formed an organization where you've got a 501c3.
Well, I will get together with Kay, and she has been talking to the church, so we can get that ironed
I would
out.
like
Is
to
that
be-
okay?
I would just like to be careful, because we don't need any other publicity. We don't
Okay.
deserve.
Okay, I'll get together with Kay, and we'll figure it out, and I'll keep the board informed.
My understanding from the last meeting, the pantry can use the stuff on the truck until we find out what all has to take place and everything. So like we got those tarps on there, I think that they should be able to use them tomorrow. The way it's been sunny, but in the possibility in the afternoon sometime, even in the morning, it may rain, and they need those tarps to cover that food up.
Right.
I suggest that we let them use it until this other matter with the church gets settled. Even if we have to leave it on the truck, I can be in tomorrow morning and drive the truck up there to unload it.
Okay.
If
Well-
it's okay with the rest of the board.
The church want it? No, we need it.
The pop-up pantry.
It will be.
Right.
So it goes to the church, they're 501c3, are they not?
Yes.
Yes, they are.
Okay, they can use it any place they want to, which presumably would be back here. But my question is, do they want it? They may not have a place to, they may just feel it's a handicap.
Well, is this something that we can work it out with the church?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so I will
Right,
talk to Kay then
yeah.
after our meeting, and, because Kay knows the people
Right.
at the church. So we
They
can get
probably
the,
will be appreciative, but I think it would be an error to go in and say, here, you have to take this.
yeah, no, we didn't plan to do that. We
Yeah.
planned to keep it here. So I'll be in touch with you after the meeting. Is that all right, Kay?
Yes.
Okay.
If they want it though, they get first dibs on it.
Okay.
All right, so the tarps weren't included in that portion, were they?
Yes.
No, they were included?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we don't need to worry about that. Okay, perfect.
So
Any
let
other-
them use it tomorrow.
That's all I have for now. I do need to talk about the cars, or
Yeah, we do that
vehicles.
later time.
Okay.
Okay, that concludes the Vice President's report. Next, we will have the Treasurer's report.
Bank reconciliation, wait a minute. Bank account reconciliation summary. Beginning balance, $766,190.36. Clear deposits and additions, $41,534.73. Clear checks and payments, $105,148.32. Ending bank balance, $702 $576.77. That's it.
I move we accept the treasurer's report,
Subject to audit.
subject to audit.
I'll second it.
Okay, just need a roll call.
Lynch,
No,
Weinar,
Yes.
Potter,
Yes.
Perrin,
Yes.
Schlicker,
Yes.
Banach,
Yes.
Turek, yes.
Okay. That concludes the treasurer's report. Mr. Secretary, you have a report for us.
Nothing that can't wait until later in the meeting.
Okay. Now, program reports. Wendy, do you have anything on the program reports? We don't have any representatives here. Okay. So,
Sorry.
I'm just going to move on that one. Okay. Anybody had a question on that, or? All right.
Just a quick question. Do we know how many clients we have right now that the direct care workers see?
No, I've been asking that
And do we have any question how many people are on the waiting list yet?
I believe there's 6 or 7, and I got that answer from NEMSCO when they were here last week.
Nobody else can provide that to you?
No.
Well, you had found out once you start digging into it that some of the existing direct care workers hadn't been offered to take on more clients or more hours.
Right, I have one that I believe wants to pick up another client. One that lost a client that was completely shut out of the whole program that really needs to get back on the program. I have a few on the waiting list, so yeah, we're working on that. And I did have Robin update the Indeed post for the direct care workers with the additional $2 added onto it, which wasn't on the post that's been out there for, I have no clue how long, a long time. So, and I do have one application that I'm going to reach out to her to do an interview for direct care worker.
Yeah, so once you offer some of the new clients or on the waiting list to the existing direct care workers, we might not be as short as we thought. Plus, there's a person that had applied and for whatever reason inexplicably had not been ever interviewed to fill that position.
Any discussion on those? Okay, this next we come up to our finance report.
Yes, it's me. So every month I do a snapshot for the board. This would be reporting out through the month of June 30th of this year. We showed a shortfall of $261,500. When I dug into what was pushing that cost so high, what I discovered was $247,500 was actually new building costs that went towards the millage, which that shouldn't have never happened. It shouldn't have been included in that shortfall. So what we're going to do in the future is I will work with Andy. We will put together a budget for the new building. All of those monies should go towards that as opposed to the millage. So when you take that out, we've got a much smaller shortfall well, there's still a shortfall of 13,000, 14,000 if I round it up. And also for the month of June, we had a lapse insurance policy that came due, and it was rather large. It was a heavy hitter for the year. It was $36,800. So when you take that out, we now have a balance left over of $22,900.
Liquid?
Liquid.
So with the changes that have been instituted and some of the staffing changes, we're not as far in the hole as what we thought we were.
No, we're not.
However, I want to see if I understand right, that the new building cost expenses were budgeted. They were put in our budget to be paid by millage fund.
That is
And
correct.
they were paid by millage fund.
That is correct.
Can we replace that? Can we take it out of the new building project, put it back in the millage?
What can
Can't do
what
that?
can be after July has been, plus whatever we do this month, since the new account isn't able to pay some of these building expenses, there will have to be a reimbursement. But yes, what has been done, and I did it last month, it had been only $87,000, I believe, we were able to reimburse. Everything else had been before the actual awarding of the grant, either earlier in 2022 or 2021 or 2020. That's where that $247,000 that we can't get reimbursed occurred prior to us actually being awarded the grant.
That is correct.
I have to say thank you for,
Yes.
I mean, I think everybody here feels much better that the changes that have been made bring us much, much closer. You know, we still had to talk about, you're not even really able to do a full budget for next year because we don't know how much money we're going to get back on certain things.
Correct, that would show an improvement in our income once we get square with MSCA.
Yeah, so hoping by, you know, the August meeting that we could get much closer, but we're much better off knowing knowledge-wise than what we were before you started, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, next on the agenda, some committee reports. Any other?
I'm not on a committee, but can I say what we're trying to do now?
Might as well.
I have had 2 or 3 ladies call me and ask about card bingo, and we're trying to get that organized. And we're going to have a meeting here at the senior center. I talked to Wendy about it, and I also had another lady ask about, matter of fact, she's in the audience, ask about regular bingo once a month. So we're looking into that to see if we have to have a license to do it and how we can get prizes if we're not going to give out money. So we're looking into a few things to get people to come in. We'd like to have it on an afternoon, a Monday afternoon or Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. Hopefully then the people will stay and eat. So these are some of the things, and for this month, we have, Wendy is going to make a basket, some sort of a basket. Every time you come in to eat, you put your name on a little piece of paper, and we drop it in the container, and at the end of the month, on the 27th actually, it's the last Thursday of the month, we're going to draw a name out, and that person gets the prize. And next month, I'm going to do it. Have something, and we do have one of the staff members said she would like to do something for October. So anybody that would like to do a little prize, it's not expensive, just something that when people come in to eat, they put their name down and they might get something at the end of the month. And we're hoping it'll bring people in to eat, because now we are getting right around 10, 15 people a night. Tuesday night's better, but, so it is growing, but it's growing slow.
You have to be present to win.
Yes, yes. You have to be here to win. That's why we're hoping that a lot of people will come in that night too.
And Carolyn's going in on the prize for this month with me. Her and I are going in on it together.
I didn't hear what she said.
First you heard about it?
What did she say?
No, Carolyn and I are going in on the giveaway for this month, for
Oh,
July. Her and I are going in
on the
together.
basket or
On the-
whatever you're
yeah,
gonna get. Oh,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
And then we do have trivia. We're gonna do trivia Thursday, or yeah, I think Thursday before dinner. There was a board down there that had a bunch of suggestions from seniors, and it's been sitting down there for, I don't know, from what I'm being told, like almost a year, and nothing's been done. So I told Robin, start picking something off that board every week, post it on Facebook, put the menu for that day, and let's start doing what the seniors want us to do.
Phil, I think we glossed over last month, how much did the cornhole tournament make?
$841, I believe it was. It made over 1,000, but by the time we paid out for the gun and the safe and the...
But it didn't lose money.
Oh, no, we made over $800 profit.
That is good.
For the center.
Thanks for
Committee,
making that too.
the nominating committee actually is starting to, I contacted three of the candidates at the special election who weren't elected to see if they were interested in running for the next general election, which will occur in September. Two of them are. They will be joined by the three open positions. All three of the current directors are running again, I believe. Correct? That'd be Stan. So Stan is not, Dolores is,
Yes.
and Phil is. So there's 5 positions open, 3 for 3-year terms and 2 for 1-year terms. So we need to discuss how we advertise that. The nomination is closed, I think, by August 23rd, according to our bylaws. So, and then the election is the final Wednesday of September. But like we did the special election, we can do that. There's nothing prohibits us from having the election all during September like we did the special election. We can run it for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, exactly like we did before, which I think worked quite well. But we need to discuss how we're going to advertise that if we are, aside from being on the website.
I would like to make a motion to advertise it in the ACCOA paper, maybe the ACCOA County Herald,
I
and
think,
bypass the review.
don't you have to be an Alcona County resident?
Yes, you do.
Still.
Well, those papers are available to Alcona County residents.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The lower tier, the Greenbush, Mankato, Glenny area, you'll find the majority of those people take the ACCOA Press.
Oh,
But they're at the ACCOA School District. So, yeah, good, bad, or indifferent.
That's my motion anyways.
I would second that motion.
Thank you.
We have a first and a second. Gary, you repeat who you want that?
Well, one of the ASCO papers, what was the name of that, Carolyn, specifically?
ACCOA Press.
The ASCOA Press, and then the ASCOA County Herald, I believe it is, will pick up the people on the west side of the county.
All right, we have a motion with a second. Any discussion on that? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Expenditures, does it have to be a roll call? Okay. Aye.
Okay.
I have no, the finance committee is still meeting with Connie and Wendy and just trying to dial down to see exactly how we can get not only on budget this year, but actually have a functioning budget for next year.
Great. All right. Yes, we
Can I say something about the legal?
Bingo?
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
I worked on the vehicle when we had it here before, and there's rules and laws that you have to know and everything. And the person that was running it in the first place gave it up because ticked off about not being able to handle the money himself and that. He quit, and I tried to take over. I knew a little bit about it, but evidently not enough. And people didn't want to support me, so we gave it up. And all the papers, they had to count them and give them away. And all tickets, I sold them down where they had people in the concrete dining down there. But as far as the license goes, yes, you have to have a license. And I think that is about $125 a year. And then outside of that board up there, and I don't know what else is here left from bingo. I almost think that many sold a lot of it or gave it away. Like the board up from up here.
But if we're just doing a fun bingo, like before a dinner, I don't think we have to have a license.
One day?
They just
No,
little, yeah, just like, yeah.
Just for fun.
Just a little fun.
from what Laura said, I took it that she wanted to have regular bingo like we used to.
You have to put in for a license through the state. You may get it, you may not, so. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Unfinished.
Yeah, as we move on to unfinished business. Want to discuss the Harrisville property?
I think Phil started most of this, and I just followed up a little bit.
I've been running around trying to figure out what to do with the property, and I checked it and everything, and I've been talking to several people next to it and different people in Harrisville. I did find a party that was interested in it. They want to use it to put their trailer on for storage for their business that they own over there. He wants to enter into a land contract, if all possible. He said if we could get a property taxes reduced, he would take both lots. If we can't get them reduced, he'll take the one lot. The assessed value on that property, on those two pieces of property, is ludicrous. It's absolutely mind-blowing. I'll tell you what it is. The one parcel is assessed, tax-wise, is assessed at $109,200. Now, mind you, they're only, between the two lots, it's only 2.1 acres off US 23 to the railroad tracks, and from Wilson's Body Shop, I believe Mrs. Picer lives next door. Like I said, it's absolutely ludicrous. It blew my mind when I got those numbers, and I said, $109,200, and that's assessed value. The taxable value is 58,000, right in there. The other one is 24,000, and it's right next door. How can you be? And there's no wells, there's no septics, there's no timber to be sold off them. Speaking. So I contacted Randy Thompson, talked to him. Being it's a 501c3, we have to file a petition, which we could get tax exempt, but it won't take effect until next year, or we can go to the tax board and argue that that property is assessed at an absolutely ludicrous price, $109,000. And, well, it's $133,000 that the senior center has to pay on taxes, if that's what it states. It'll be approximately 21 grand, or 2,100 for the taxes this year between the two parcels. If we can figure a way to get the taxes reduced, like I said, I do have a buyer on a 5-year, did I tell you
Contract, yeah.
5-year contract at 11% interest per month. He would buy both, or he'll buy one. I'm not sure we want to get rid of one, because then we'd be stuck with the other one, and it'd be tougher to sell one small piece than it would be to sell 2.1 acres together. That's just my brain of thought. They're supposed to meet today. I was told 11 to probably 2 for the tax thing. We have to make sure that Randy Townsend has paperwork in his hand from the state. If we apply for it and we do not get a tax reduction by that, I believe it's a 3-person committee, tax board, then we're stuck on it. Or we can wait until December or January and do it in the spring and explain to the treasurer that we're in the process of filing. Randy Thompson don't have the paperwork from the state yet. So it's up to the board. You want me to go to the tax sale and argue that I think it's ludicrous, which I know it is.
Are you willing to do that?
Somebody has to.
I would make a,
and the board.
I would make a motion that we allow Phil to go ahead and see what he can do to get the property taxes reduced and see what we can do about it.
If we fail, then we're going to be stuck with that.
Anyways, that's my...
I'll second that.
So that, going upon that, Randy said that as of last Thursday, he didn't have the paperwork yet. So the risk was if you went in front of the board without the paperwork from the state that they needed, and they denied it, then you're done for this year, okay? So, to reiterate what Phil said, the total of the 2 properties, they have an assessed value of over $130,000. Now, this is for properties that we bought for $8,800. They have it assessed as $130,000.
I correct you on that, 8,100.
Yeah, and so it was the total tax payment that we would have, that we got the bills that we would have to get this year. We had to pay this year, and every year following would be $2,100. We did fill the paperwork out to get an exemption for next year, which is kind of a moot point if we sell the property. So, there's just several different ways to go here. If we go to the board of review, in my opinion, I don't think we have anything to lose by going today anyway, and everything to gain if it did go through.
Well, we also had to pay the back taxes when we bought that. When we
Okay.
bought it, we paid back taxes.
Yeah, it came to $9,900, I believe, $81.
Almost
Yeah.
$10,000.
It was just under 10 grand, but there again,
Get rid of it.
do we want to sell that property on a land contract? Do we want to make the gentleman? I tried to make him a deal. He pays the taxes and $8,000 cash. He couldn't come up with the cash, but he said, I will do a land contract for 5 years at 11% interest if we can get the taxes reduced. He don't pay the $2,100. So do we go, and for an example, and I'm not sure if Kyler's was in the city of Harrisville, but Kyler's, I was told by a lady that did auditing, tax appraisals. She said Kyler's sold for $34,000 the lot with 2 septics, 2 wells, and they threw in the liquor license. And they got it for $34,000. We have 2 lots which don't have a parcel on it, and it's not developed, it's not, and it's $133,000 assessed. So,
And the buyer knows, ethically, we've let him know that it's a $2,000 tax bill.
correct, right personal eye to eye, he understands that. That's why he said he would be interested in the 1 lot if we don't get the taxes reduced.
So not only would we be making more on the property than what we paid, but we will rid ourselves of a $2,000 every year tax payment if we decide to sell that on the land contract.
He's only going to buy the 1.
Can we have to have the first motion to allow him to go to the meeting that property tax reduced?
Yeah, that would be good.
I'm sorry, can you call the question? Yes.
Okay, so who made that motion?
I did,
You
or seconded it.
Okay. Everybody know the motion that we're going to vote on? We'll have Phil go to the tax board and represent. Okay. We have a first and a second. Any other discussion on that part? Okay, so in that case, all those in favor say aye.
Aye. You want a roll call on this? I'm guessing.
Any opposed? Okay, and I'll even say please, Phil.
I'd like to ask Phil, did you walk the property?
Yes, I did.
Is it quite a drop off?
There's quite a drop off. You'd have to have gravel brought in by a dump truck for a driveway, and he has work to do if he's going to put a trailer. He puts, like, he's moving trailers that you load up your furniture and stuff to move places. He has a couple of those. He has a boat trailer that he wants to stick in there, just for storage, just someplace to put them off his property. So he said, I'd be willing to enter into a land contract with the commission, if we want to sell it. But like I said, he'll only buy one if we can't get the taxes reduced. So,
Well, good luck.
or if he buys one and the board deems, I don't care, I prefer we throw the other one in, and hopefully we still make enough. I believe the price was $11,000 for the one piece and $13,000 for both on a 5-year contract at 11% interest. So I believe that's what the price was that he offered.
And we did make a motion and passed it last month to dispose of any of the ACCOA-owned property in Harrisville by any legal means, specifically via raffle or sale. So we have already done that.
So yeah, I'll follow up on it. But meeting starts at 11, so I'll have to wait here. So
I would like to, have we advertised it yet? To see if we can sell it that way as well. And I guess the other thing is, all sales have got to be conditional. We got to get rid of both of them.
that's my thinking.
It's both or nothing.
That was my personal thinking was, it would be so hard to get rid of the one lot.
Yeah, it's both or,
But for that assessed value,
well, we got to fight to.
What was it assessed at 3 years ago, 5 years ago?
I didn't ask. I do not know that number. But the tax sale, 8,100. So there was a couple bids on it that people withdrew after they looked at it. They said, no, we're not buying that. And then,
Well, the tax sale is an accumulation of 3 years plus penalties.
and that was, like I said, they paid the back taxes, and it was 8,100 that they paid for the 2 lots, and it was, came to 99.81, I believe, or 99 something. Just under 10 grand when our past director purchased it.
We don't really know how long those taxes were in arrears. I mean,
No, we don't know.
Well,
So I could possibly get them numbers today if I go to the tax sale. It's supposed to be in here, so at 11 o'clock. So I think they run from like 11 to 1, 11 to 2, whatever. Don't they normally?
they vary depending on the township and or the city. But if you aren't in the door, if it's 2 o'clock, if you're not in the door by 1:59 and they acknowledge you there, you're screwed for
Okay.
next year.
So if you go and present our case on that, roughly how long before we get a decision?
I have no idea. I've never done one before. I've never. I just think the price is ludicrous.
It is.
It's $133,000 for probably a $12,000 piece of property. That's $6,000 an acre if you break it down, 2.1 acres. If you broke it down into acres, that's a pretty good chunk of change for an acre.
Well, the other thing we could do is stop paying taxes on it and let them take it to tax. if nobody wants to work with us.
Well, we do have,
I'll
like I
vote
said,
for that.
I have a person that's, wants to work with us on it, so.
Yeah.
Well, either or.
Why don't we see what happens at the tax review, and then we move from there.
And if we do get turned down, you can always file a petition with the State of Michigan Tax Board, I believe,
Tax tribunal, yes.
tax tribunal.
Lansing, yeah.
So that's-
Usually people have won those. I mean, those are, usually that works out the person's favor. I don't know, I guess. maybe-
You have to go to Lansing for that.
You got less intelligence to go to Lansing, but go ahead.
Yeah, no. I don't have that kind of intelligence to go to Lansing. You have maybe, but. Carolyn.
Mr. President, I respectfully say this. No, you don't have to. But I strongly urge you to put an ad in the ACCOA Review 1 week. You don't have to do more. But 1 week, you have then opened that property up to anybody who would want to bid on it. Now, I think it's great that you've got a buyer. I mean, that's terrific. But Joe Blow could say, wait a minute, if you'd advertised, I'd have given you more money. I wanted that piece. I don't believe for a minute there's anybody out there that wants that piece of property, other than this gentleman. But please put an ad in the paper for 1 week and say, property for sale, best of, put 15,000 on it, or I don't know, put a price on it that you're not gonna have everybody saying, oh, well, I wanna go look at that. So,
Determine it as what, CYA?
don't put the price in the assessor put on it, but.
However you rule.
Yeah, to me, it's,
Although you could say current taxes.
Yeah.
That would scare them all off. But please, please, please.
I would be in favor of all of that, of putting it in the paper too also. I love that, that would be a great thing to do, so.
Okay, so do we need a motion for that?
Yeah, I think so. I think we should make a motion right now.
And it'd be a done thing.
I'll second.
Who made the motion? You already made the motion? No.
No, Bob, did you make a motion,
I
Bob?
didn't make a motion, but I think we should make one. I'd make a motion to place the ACCOA Harrisville property for sale in a local newspaper.
And I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that?
I would prefer it not go in the review.
I'll amend it. I'll say in the ACCOA press.
Okay. In the case, all those in favor, say aye.
Yes?
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Okay, on to the next, we had the property sale tax determination, and we have the sale of the non-emergency medical treatment vehicles, transportation vehicles, I'm sorry. Any other news on that, or did we ever get the valuation of the vehicles or estimate?
I have no news. I put it on there just to see if anybody has any news on that with the status of.
Okay.
When you're ready again, it needs to go in the advertising. There's a firm out of Chicago that used to buy our patrol cars. I don't know where they are anymore.
Okay, well, I would think this should be a pretty good market for the vans that are wheelchair equipped.
And talk to Thunder Bay Transportation. You might have a lead for you.
I do have a person that's very interested in our big yellow truck and the bus. And I kind of stuck my neck out a little bit and said that Phil would talk to him. Brad Cole is very interested in the bus and the truck. The bus he would like for the church. Apparently the church wants to get into taking people to the doctors and what have you. And so he's very interested, Brad's interested. Now, I don't know if the church would buy it or whatever, but I told him that maybe Phil would come up and talk to him about it. And he is interested in the truck for his business. So, sorry, Phil, but I didn't know what to tell him. Now, one of our employees did say that we paid $5,000 for the big yellow truck. I can't remember what we paid for it. I don't really know if we even have paperwork saying what we paid for it. Do you think we do, Wendy, or don't you know yet?
I think we do, we're just looking for it, and I know Shauna was trying to get some quotes from the dealership on, an estimate of how much the vehicles are worth. But I still think, like Phil said at the last meeting, we should do like the sealed bid.
Do a bid, subject to accept or reject, any and all bids.
We really should get an assessment. Did she get any of it done or none of it done?
We're waiting to hear back.
We're still waiting on the appraisals.
Yeah, I can reach out to them.
Yeah, I think the sooner the better, so we can get really moving on this.
Okay.
Because we should know what we're dealing with. I mean, believe me, I don't want to turn anything away. On the other hand, I do want to make a wise decision and get what we can for them. And knowing that used cars that still run on gasoline are in high demand.
Are we paying insurance on these vehicles sitting out here every day?
Yes.
Sure. Should be. So, yeah, the sooner we can get the ball rolling on that, I think the better.
Yeah, and it's not that hard either just to go online and get some new book values of those vehicles, so.
Well, I thought the guy on the corner here was,
Lenny wanted all of them, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but I'd like to kind of have some idea
Yeah.
of what they're worth.
Well, that's why Brad only wants a couple. He doesn't want the whole, so.
no, I understood, but we still want to know what they're worth.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So I'll go ahead and talk with them. Okay. Any other discussion on those vehicles? Okay, move on then to new business. Okay. Bob, you somewhat covered the September election. Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Pretty much. I think the deadline for nominations, I believe it's August 23rd. And then we'll run a multi-week election like we did back here in April. Pretty much the same way. It seemed like it was a great turnout and there was no problems. A little extra work to make it more secure, and more anonymous, but as far as I can tell, it'll be fun.
Okay, great. All right. Wendy, did you have any update on the employee handbook?
No, just waiting for you guys to review it, and then once everybody has reviewed it or gives me their input, I'm gonna give it to Lori. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Lori. To review.
Can I get a hard copy of it? Because I'd really rather read that than something online.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's big. I'll have to print it out, but it's a lot of pages.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that Susan recommended back in February and March that wasn't done.
Right.
And Wendy basically has that done. All we need to do is look it over and approve it and have the lawyer, and she's got some other opinion. So, I mean, I think she was a little modest about what she's accomplished already. That's a huge step. Everybody who's looked at that has said that's a problem, a big problem.
And I've used a lot of, I really went off of my previous employer, which was a CAP agency like NEPSCA. So, there's a lot of very strict rules and regulations versus what was in the previous, or the now in place handbook. So,
And I think, Wendy, you did say that in there, she kind of addressed an issue that we left hanging this spring about the closure policy, the snow day policy, that we never really made that. She kind of addressed that in the employee handbook.
yeah, there was things that I used, you know, like the cap agency, and there was also things that I went off of Susan's suggestions that she had. So I know there was, you know, like special things that pertain to ACCOA that I had to put in there. There was a couple things that, when we were talking with NEMSCA, that they had brought up last week that, you know, I just need to double check and make sure they're absolutely in there. And then Lori was talking about like the in-home services and the food. There's certain policies, so I need to make sure that all of that stuff is in there too, so.
Any other discussion on the handbook? Anybody else have anything else under new business?
I was wondering if we can have, I'll call it a garage sale. We have got storage up on the hill. We're paying $50 a month. I have no idea what's in there. We've got storage over here in Brad's buildings. The upstairs here is, there's a ton of stuff. We haven't used it in years and years and years. I'm wondering if we could go through this and find out what we can sell, if some of it maybe NEMSCA has control over, but we did have a garage sale here. I'm calling it a garage sale. It was in this building right here. We had all the tables lined up, all the seniors brought in their stuff, and we just put this row of tables is $1, this row is $2, and we made a ton of money on that. And so it might be a way to save some money by getting rid of the storage up on the hill or cleaning this attic out up here. And maybe over the winter we can get all this stuff gathered up and find out what we can sell and what we can't, or who purchased it or whatever. But I'm thinking we should clean house.
Well, you like to head up a committee?
Yeah.
All right.
Now, Phil, you're...
No,
We are gonna need somebody with muscles though, because there's a lot of stuff upstairs.
Okay.
But yes, if it's okay, then maybe we can plan it for spring, or should we have it this fall, or what do you think?
We want more than one.
Yeah.
We might need more than one.
Yeah,
But-
I'd investigate this stuff and maybe we could do something this fall, wait September, October.
But how do I look at something up in the attic here and know whether NEMSCA bought it or whether we bought it? I don't know how to tell.
Write it down, make a list.
Lori said it would have a tag.
There should be tags that are either, from what I understand, we have tags on stuff that's ours, and then there's also tags that would say if it was NEMSCA.
Well, I do know that one of the ladies that was working here, she's not here now, she said that all the tables that's in this storage unit over here was ACCOA, or was bought by NEMSCA. And I know they weren't. They were in this building when the county gave us this building. And so I know that NEMSCA didn't buy them, but she said they did. So how do we know if she said that card table was bought by NEMSCA when it really wasn't? Because I know those chairs was not, and neither was those tables. There's a ton of them over there. I think we should put a price tag on them and get rid of them.
Maybe we can get Lori to be on the committee.
Yes.
Oh, is that a no?
I would fill on this one. NEMSCA wouldn't but we wouldn't have tagged a table or something like that. It's the bigger equipment items, like maybe a freezer or your stoves or air
Computers.
conditioners, a TV, something like that we may have tagged.
Well, I do know that we've got a steam table over there that came from the Glenny site, and we've got the great big stove. Is that something that we can go through NEMSCA and say, and let NEMSCA say, yes, go ahead and sell it?
There is a process in our items, and yes, according to the state regulations, we have to have a process. And, you know, if you're not using it anymore, if it's not working, we still have to look to the state to see if they want it back somehow, or if we can donate it to another nonprofit entity if we're not using it, but it works. So there is a process for when.
Okay, so we'll work with Wendy and figure out how to do it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, let's move right along here. Okay, probably nothing else under new business.
If I may, one other thing. You all got a form today, asks for your name and up to 5 ideas for the new building, and with the logic or the use of that particular area that you indicated. If you would have these back to Wendy by the 1st of August, that's a week, then that will give you some time to get compiled.
Okay. All right, that will bring us to our public comments. Once again, we have a 2-minute limit on that. Just please state your name and where you live. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Kim Fleming, I'm a journalist again, and I just had a comment about the tax issue with that property. Here's what, do you know what the requirements are to approach for this meeting you're going to? Because a lot of times, I know in tax tribunal, I'm an appraiser, it's only just to give you a basis of reference. You must provide information, comparables, things like that when you go to request the reduction of tax. So I just wonder if they'll even hear you if you don't have any data.
I just have tax. This year's taxes is all I have.
I know, but I mean, for the, I don't know how it works here, and I haven't been involved in any tax tribunal types work in this county, but often the onus is on the person approaching to provide the example you gave for Kyler's, you know, some basis of this makes no sense because this property is only assessed at this and this is only assessed at that. So I don't know what they do, but I guess you don't. But if you do need help in that realm, let me know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Pam?
I would just like to say, Pam McKinnon, I'd just like to say I fully, totally, with all my heart, understand why you feel the way you do about ACCOA review. I think that they're a trash paper myself. I want that on record. The reporting leaves much to be desired, and what they've done to this board is ridiculous. But I hope that you use them for the good while you can. I'm not saying you have to advertise everything with them. I'm not saying you have to spend a lot of money with them. But they service ACCOA County, and a lot of people here still get that paper. I know seniors in this area, quite a few of them on my end of town, get that paper. So just take it into consideration. I'm not for them, but yet it reaches a lot of people, and that's going to be one of the first things that's all slapped over Facebook, that you guys are not being transparent. You are not communicating because it didn't land in the ACCOA review. You've already seen it.
Judy French, Harrisville. Just a comment to keep in mind about programs when you're planning the new building, you know, talking about like a day center, you know, keep in mind what hasn't worked here. doesn't mean it's going to work again. You know, don't build something if it's not going to work. And keep in mind the scope of the center. The programs need to be for seniors. So just keep in mind when building that we're not building things for children. You know, we're building things for seniors. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, very nice. We'll have comments from the directors. Anybody have a comment? Gary?
Yeah, I'll go. It was brought up to me yesterday in conversation, it hasn't been mentioned, that we've had those that have been complaining about our minutes. Nobody else gets to vote on our minutes but us. And I would really like Director Turek to speak to the fact of what he has found, that why he's keeping minutes the way he is, and that they are within the guidelines of what we're supposed to report for minutes, if you wouldn't mind, Bob.
If you insist.
I do.
Hey, as I said when I started as secretary, Robert's Rules of Order says you report what is done, not what is said. So a brief period of time last year, the minutes switched to trying to record what people were saying. And it was an abject failure. And I came across one thing in particular in the October minutes where it says Gary Vinuk said that we should not respond to FOIA requests. Well, anybody who was at that meeting or any other meetings know that Gary, that's not ever what he said. He requested information. It wasn't provided the way he'd think it should have been legally, and he was complaining about that. And yet the minutes can be construed as to say that Gary was saying that we should not honor FOIA requests. I personally had to go and change the minutes twice at one meeting, objecting to something that was said that I said, but it wasn't. It was right on the video that I didn't say it. So the minutes are not supposed to be a verbatim recollection or recounting of what every person says. It's what's done, what's voted on, not what's said. So that's how I'm going to do it. That's how Robert's Rules of Order says to do it. If this board wants different types of minutes taken, they should let me know, or the next secretary know, because this is how it's supposed to be done. But, you know, one of the minutes it said the director pointed at somebody in the audience, and then somebody else pointed at him, but the minutes didn't say that. It's just a nightmare when you try to put in what people are saying or trying to leave out the context of what they're saying. So that's why the minutes are as they are. So I would speak that I don't plan on changing that unless the board requests that, in which time I would say, you need to find a new secretary, because I'm not going to do that.
Well, I for one appreciate your doing the minutes. Any other discussion with that? Okay. Any other directors have a comment?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Well, we have the first and second. All those in favor? Say aye. Okay. Anyone opposed? Good enough. We are adjourned.